diggity, diggity dog. Diggity, diggity dog.
Hey now, what's up everybody? My name is Mike Brown, aka ReviewKingMB, and it's a little early. Usually I start doing lists like this around December, but this particular list I figured I could do right now. Why not? I'm talking about my top 10 most anticipated films of 2016. Why not? I already know what movies I'm looking forward to, so let's talk about it. Before I get started on the list, I want to mention some close movies. They almost made the list, but didn't quite, so I thought that they're worth mentioning. TMNT 2, which I know some people are like, really? Well, again, it didn't make the list, but it's something I'm more curious about now that they're bringing in Casey Jones, Bebop and Rocksteady, and the fact that that TMNT movie that came out, I didn't hate it. I fully expected to. I'm not saying it's the greatest thing, but it wasn't terrible, in my opinion. The Huntsman, which I don't know 100% sure that that's coming out. I just saw it's listed for next year. It's a sequel to the Snow White and the Huntsman movie, but minus Snow White. So, I'm curious. Underworld Next Generation. Again, this is a movie that is listed, scheduled, and this is something that's supposed to be bringing Kent Beckinsale back. The Purge Origins. I'm not really happy that it's an origin or a prequel, because at the end of the day, like, why? But whatever. I like the first two Purge movies. Neighbors 2 Sorority Rising. I love the first Neighbors movie. I thought it was hilarious. Seth Rogen and Zac Efron. So I'm looking forward to the sequel. But now on to the list. Top 10 list. At number 10, Rogue One, A Star Wars Story. This isn't really high on the list, mostly because it's the beginning. It's the beginning of Disney making these spin-off Star Wars movies. Because we're getting our Star Wars film, but they're going to try to do one every year, which is something that's kind of awesome. Mostly because I trust Disney and how they're going to use this property. It's probably something that's long overdue, that nobody's ever tried to make multiple Star Wars movies. Star Wars is such a huge galaxy. There's so many different stories you probably could tell. We don't have to stick with the same characters every time. We can tell different stories. At number 9, The Bourne Betrayal. I am very much looking forward to Matt Damon's return as Jason Bourne. They tried to make a movie without him, and as much as I like Jeremy Renner, it just was not gonna work. Nobody gave a shit, neither did I. So just the fact that Matt Damon's coming back is a huge plus. I don't know where you could take the story, Bourne story, after the third one, but fuck it, let's see what they do. At number 8, Doctor Strange. Not just because it's Marvel, and not just because I never thought I'd ever see a live-action Doctor Strange movie. He's such an out-there character. Whenever I'd see him show up on the cartoons that I used to watch as a kid, he'd always come in and like help Spider-Man or something. I just thought he was out there. Probably one of Marvel's most different movies that they've made ever since, and that's saying something after all the movies they have made. Number 7, Star Trek Beyond. I might be one of the few at this point who's looking forward to this movie. I doubt it. I know people are into this stuff. I'm just talking about the purists, the Star Trek purists who love the original stuff. I'm not all that familiar with it. I didn't really jump on until this new reboot, and even the purist fans loved that first movie as well. It was the sequel, Into the Darkness, that they didn't like. Me, however, I loved that sequel. It was fun, great action, maybe not better than The Wrath of Khan or even the connection to those old movies, but I don't care. I really don't care. Number 6, we have Gambit. Gambit is another character that, they did once in X-Men Origins. I didn't even really hate the way how he was portrayed or done in that film, but it was so weird in the timeline to put him in that movie because that meant we were never going to get him with the actual team. How could you do something like that? Now they're fixing it. Now it's Channing Tatum playing Gambit. I know initially I was like, what? But you know what? I've gotten to like Channing Tatum a lot over the last few years. And he seems serious about this role. He seems like he wants to be a part of this and get into it. Number 5, Xmen Apocalypse, keeping in the X-Men universe. Yes, we're getting an X-Men movie. It's supposed to be the finale of the prequel trilogy that we had, the First Class trilogy. And that's kind of sad in some senses because I've liked a lot of these actors that have been on board since First Class. Michael Fassbender, James McAvoy, Jennifer Lawrence especially, and the fact that Apocalypse is the villain, that's also something that I cannot wait. I know people were shitting on the way that he looks, and it wasn't until people said they were comparing him to Ivan Ooze, the villain from Power Rangers, and I didn't think of it until they did the comparison. I said, oh yeah, it kind of does look weird now, and now I haven't really been able to shake it, but I'm still going to give it a chance. I have to give it a chance. They can't fuck this up more than they already have some of the X-Men movies in the past. This even if Apocalypse's look is a bit of a downer, at least it seems like it's going to be a serious tone, and I want to see what happens with that. But again, staying in this universe, at number 4, Deadpool. Deadpool. I honestly gave up. I gave up on the possibility of them finally making this movie. Ryan Reynolds especially. I'm sure he gave up after a while. He has been trying to make this happen since like 2004 or 2005. Somewhere around there, he wanted this to happen. He's a huge fan of the character. He's not just somebody trying to say that because all of those movies that he tried to do failed. You know, R.I.P.D., Green Lantern, that hurt. But no, he legitimately is a fan of this character. The trailer alone sells me on what type of movie this is going to be. The violence, the over-the-topness, the comedy. It screams Deadpool. I love the costume, the white eyes. Like, it looks too perfect. How could you really fuck this up? And also just the possibility of Stan Lee making a cameo in a Deadpool movie, but then Deadpool stopping, looking at him, and knowing who he is. Like, if they do that, then this movie will win all comic book movies. Number 3 is the Suicide Squad. I know, I'm actually looking forward to this a lot more than I want to have on this list. I almost want to put it higher, but how much higher can I go? Like, even the idea of them doing a Suicide Squad movie just sounds absurd. It sounds insane. But that's Warner Brothers going for it. It's something that fans, me alike, have been getting on them for. Like, what's taking so long? Get on the fucking ball. Do something with all of these properties and characters that you have, and also do something different. You know, don't do something so different to where it doesn't make sense, but do something to where you're making a new formula for yourself. And it seems like that's what they're doing. You know, the first offset of the Superman movies is Suicide Squad, is a group of villains. And I cannot gush over Harley Quinn's very first live-action movie appearance. It's going to be insane. Margot Robbie looks amazing, sounds amazing. Jared Leto as the Joker is something else I think we're all looking forward to. Number 2, this is hard. The first 2 spots were hard to really place, but I decided to give number 2 to Captain America Civil War. This is something that is huge. Huge. When this was first announced, I couldn't believe it. My mind was blown. I thought that maybe if they ever did a Civil War movie, it would be an Avengers movie. And it's going to feel like an Avengers movie for sure, with all of the characters in there. Black Panther's first appearance, Spider-Man's first appearance, just a lot of these Avengers characters. It's going to feel like an Avengers movie, but it's still a Captain America movie. And the fact that we're getting a Civil War story in between Avengers movies is insane. This is Marvel saying that we're not going to slack. We're not going to rest on our laurels because we've been so successful up until this point. We're not going to pretend like we don't know what fans want to see, because they are still bringing it. Civil War is going to be huge. I might be looking more forward to this than the Infinity War. And trust me, I'm looking very much forward to that. But this is going to be just amazing. Number one, though, I think it's fairly obvious now that I've named all of these movies. The only one that I haven't mentioned yet is, yes, Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice. And maybe some of my old videos would make it seem like a surprise that this is number one, because I was very down on a lot of the news that I heard about some of the stuff they were doing here. Even Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor, I was just like, no, no, no. And I'm still kind of like, about it. That trailer did not sell me on Jesse Eisenberg at all, but everything else is on point. Everything else looks perfect. You know, I love how, whether Zack Snyder, David Goyer meant for this to happen, we're taking the criticisms, we're taking the backlash that everybody had about Man of Steel, which is still a movie that I love. You know, I understand the complaints, but we're taking that and we're making a whole story out of it. We're creating a society in this universe that looks at Superman as a threat, as a possible threat. Not everybody, but a lot of people feel that way. And Bruce Wayne is one of them. And Ben Affleck, maybe I was just question marked on it at first, but I was willing to give it a chance. Seeing him in the trailer, he's so intense. He looks like a perfect Bruce Wayne. And then seeing him in the Batman costume, he looks huge. He looks like a guy who can take Superman. But even with that, he has the Frank Miller costume, the Frank Miller robot armored suit, which is something else that it's one of these things I never thought I'd see in live action. Say what you want to say about Zack Snyder, I'm not even going to say that, you know, who knows, maybe this movie will disappoint me. But this guy knows how to make a comic book movie look gorgeous on screen. A movie in general, he knows how to present it. It looks amazing in the trailers, the color palettes, and just, it looks different also in comparison to Marvel movies, and different is what I like. I can't wait to see these two titans fight each other. Maybe not everybody loves the idea of superheroes fighting each other, because we're going to be getting a lot of that next year, I know. But still, this is how you have to introduce these characters. This is a movie that they've been trying to make for at least 10, 15 years, and we're finally going to get it. And this movie is going to impact a lot as far as their future, as far as Justice League, as far as Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. A lot will come out of this movie. The various cameos and rumored people who are going to show up and whatnot. There is a lot riding on this movie, and I think that makes the anticipation level an even more all-time high. Next year is going to be insane. Anyways, guys, I'm very excited about next year. Let me know in the comments below, not only what do you think of my list, but what are some of your most anticipated movies of 2016. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Later!